It really has. Our next matchup is going to be Thijs versus Jarla, so two players that were here last weekend as well. So, pretty big deal for these guys. You mentioned the double qualification almost guaranteeing you into Division A. Well, yeah, these guys have been here twice now, and there's still one more week of play left. So even, not even if they go terrible next week, but even if they just have another okay week for a couple of points, maybe 3 points, they'll be looking really, really solid in themselves to just really cement spots in Division A. So already in day one of the broadcast this week, we're almost just starting to get a picture of where players are going to start landing when it comes to that round robin phase in week number 4.
Yeah, for sure. And just what an absolute legend Thijs is. Just yet again, still, while not being a full-time competitive player, let's say, still just manages to prove that, just through all the hard work he put in and through his natural ability, the combination of those two things, he got himself to such a high level that he can still compete at the highest level and do well at the highest level consistently, no matter what the format throws at him year after year after year after year. It's insane.
It is really impressive, and although, he might not be winning world championships or anything like that, he's still in Grandmasters by his own merit, as he's still here, and he's continuing to do well, as you mentioned. But he's going to be going up against Jarla, sorry, and they said Lala then, just making up names for people. We can see the bans now. Jarla is going to be losing his Rogue, and Thijs is going to be losing his Demon Hunter, which is, again, 2 matches so far. We've seen Demon Hunter banned in each one of, but we can check out the deck list now and the lineups overall for Thijs, I believe we're going to be kicking it off with. And yeah, I have questions about this lineup, Sol, and it's definitely done its job because Thijs is here, but I don't know if the Druid's good enough right now, especially with the inclusion of Kael'thas. I think the deck needs to almost be torn down and rebuilt again, with note to all the nerfs and changes that have gone on. Also as well, I played some of Thijs' Highlander Hunter, and it's generally the more popular list, but I just feel like it doesn't quite get there in many of the ways against a lot of the matchups you're going to feel. I feel like it's either not aggressive enough or doesn't have enough late game. So it's kind of just floats in the middle for me. Maybe that's a sweet spot I don't know about, and that's fine, but his lineup overall just does not blow me away, is what I'm getting at.
Are there particular cards you think are missing or should
Nagrand
not be
Slam. It's missing from the Hunter 100%. Don't make a Hunter deck without that card. It'll disappoint me. But no, in all seriousness, it's also the inclusion of some cards. Like there's the Fellwing is in his deck. Like, does Highlander Hunter that plays some of the late game stuff really need a sometimes 0 mana 3/2? Like, I don't know. I think there's space for other stuff.
Okay. I do take the point about Druid as well, because it definitely seemed a little bit suspect in Asia Pacific. We did see a lot of mirrors get played, which seemed to be like where most of the Druids were picking up a wing, because of course they have to. But yeah, it's an interesting lineup. I like that it's so different from what we saw in the first series, but we can take a look at what he's got to go up against now as well from Jarla's side. And I think we might have some questions about this as well, because I don't think either of us was a huge fan of his warrior list last week. And he seems to be kind of back on the same thing here with the slower build of a bomb warrior, I guess we'll call it.
For me, the warrior list...
Sorry. Apparently what we're calling it is control bomb tempo pirate warrior.
Yeah, just... thanks, TJ. That was definitely you. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
But for me, I love the idea of the list. On paper, when you describe it, it makes sense. There's some good removal, and then there's bombs for the inevitability along with the Horde Pillagers to get way more wrench calibers. I harped on a little bit about this last week because Jarla brought, I think, an identical list off just glancing. But the Clockwork Goblin feels like it should be almost any other defensive or combo related card as a 3 mana 3/3 that puts 1 more bomb into your opponent's deck. Doesn't feel impactful to me really in any way. I feel like it could be Overconfident Orc, even though I've talked about that card a lot for some reason today. It could just another combo piece for Risky Skipper. Again, off the top of my head, don't know what that would be. Maybe even a Warmaw Challenger, I'm not sure. But you have a ton of bombs with the double weapon and then Horde Pillagers, which is insane. That's just so many bombs. A 3 mana 3/3 I feel falls behind a lot in the more aggressive matchups and doesn't do much in the slower matchups because you've shuffled in a million bombs already. Does one matter? That's my big question for this list.
I'll take that point and nail it down to something specific. Bloodsworn Mercenary.
Sure.
Because like, there's no Bloodsworns in this list. He has the risky skipper turns for the big pop-offs, and he has Kargath Blade Fist, which is an insane Bloodsworn Mercenary target, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's a fantastic example. Honestly, I kept glancing at the list and trying to see which cards I didn't see in there to try and pick some good 3-drops. But yeah, and the fact that we've just named even just a couple of good suggestions that isn't a 3-mana 3/3 do nothing to a certain extent means that it's my real gripe with the list. But we can talk about that in a little bit. We are kicking off the match. Thijs going to be on the top on his warrior, and Jarla is going to be on his mage. Jarla, another Highlander mage, whereas for Thijs, I guess we're continuing the... well, I don't know what we're saying if TJ's naming the list nowadays, but it is going to be this Pain warrior, much more reminiscent of what we've seen in the past week and a half of Grandmasters.
As I have learned from the GM Summit, from doing hot takes with TJ, from
general time spent with TJ.
From, my general life experience with TJ Sanders, that man should not be in charge of anything.
I don't know if I agree.
No, I don't either. TJ should actually just be in charge of everything.
I was going to say, whether you appreciate the style of humor, TJ just makes things better. Is I think the important factor here. Insert him into anything and it will be better. But one needs to be better here.
The bacon of content. You can just add it to anything and it's improved.
Reasonable. I'll let you have that one, actually. Pretty good. In this game, though, as Thijs takes a sip of his trademark Thijs tea, Jarla is just going to get this Twilight Drake out. And I guess question number one is asked early on is, well, there's a high health minion, which Warrior generally of the Pain variety struggles to deal with outside of some pretty crazy combos, or specifically the Blood Boil Brutes.
Sure.
So it could be a bit of a stopgap here, because also if Thijs just has to tank this, then I think Jarla's very okay with that anyway, because it's not hitting his face.
Yeah, I think step one, he just really wants this minion to live, like regardless of where the damage goes, right? If he can survive, then that's a building block for him in the future.
And I think this kind of matchup brings me round to, for me, the main question about Pain Warrior is you can play this deck probably 100 different ways. How do you think Thijs wants to play it versus Jarla's mage? Is Thijs going to try and go hyper aggressive? Is he going to go for board-based combos? Is he going to, I'm guessing no, but try and like armor combo him? Like what is at least goal number one, like plan A?
Generally, the most success I've had with this deck against mage is...
not doing that?
Not rolling Generous Mummy. That's a disaster. Sorry, what was I saying? Yes, is like early aggression. Just try and get in like 10-15 points of damage early. Then, you know, when the mage takes over the game, because they generally will, you know, they'll get control with Blizzards and Frost Novas and whatever else they need. Hopefully you've drawn enough cards with Battle Rages and so on that you can start building up that big Korkron combo as the finisher. That's generally where my success rate in the matchup has fallen. But I do want to say one of the reasons why I like this deck so much is that you can't like rely on sound bites and cliches and, you know, general experience of how a matchup goes.
But how
because
will we cast it?
Every game is so different depending on, like, you know, which cards you draw, you know, whether you draw the Battle Rage early, whether you draw a Risky Skipper package early, whether you know, draw a bunch of just straight up damage early, which weapons you get, which weapons you don't get. All of those things like change the way you have to play not just any one given matchup, but all matchups. So like learning to play this deck effectively across the board is so very difficult.
Yeah, and I do like, at least from what I've seen in the past few days, is there was at one point where players were cutting Korkron elites in the deck, and I feel like having that ability to, as you just said, do some damage and then combo, sort of play safe with combos until you can burst them with the Korkron combo, is something that I feel if you didn't have access to, you're severely limiting the way you, or the options you have to actually play the deck.
Thijs gonna fly in the face of all of that, though. Looks like he is committing his Korkron elite right now.
He plays two. So
does he really?
Yes.
Oh, he does? Okay, fine.
Yes, which is, I was going to say, I love 1. I have no real qualms with 2. 0, don't talk to me ever again. Basically, is my summary of at least just the Kor'kron inclusion. But Thijs does have 2, which means this throwaway Kor'kron is acceptable, especially considering he's holding a battle rage.
And very smartly done from Thijs. He uses the Titanic Lackey. I was a little bit concerned when I saw the Kor'kron come down before we got into how many were in the list. Because like it's his one Kor'kron that's gone and he doesn't have the burst combo anymore. That would have been a problem if he didn't play 2. But the big concern was just how much of a blowout Reno was in this position with the discount from the Generous Mummy. But the fact the Titanic Lackey is coming down alongside that certainly makes me feel a little bit better about proceedings.
Yeah, now with Zephyrus, we had a whole new dimension to the turn, right? Because there are some options with Zephyrus here. Not maybe. Well, okay. I'll be honest straight off. I'm not exactly sure what Zephyrus would offer on this board. Maybe just a 4-drop minion at this point. But there are some options, and there's maybe even a plan to set up a Zephyrus for maybe next turn instead, with a potential Holy Nova. So with Arcane Breath and Ray of Frost, maybe he could Zephyrus Holy Nova next turn.
I was looking at this is just very clean, right? The Arcane Breath, because of the discount. You lower it to 10.
Oh,
so
sure. You know what? I didn't think that would go to 10.
Just the reduced Generous Mummy. Sorry, just the reborn Generous Mummy is going to live. And then Jarla says, yep, thank you very much. I would like that minion to still be around next turn as well. Things are going well for me.
Yeah, really good turn. Honestly, I actually didn't realise he'd put him to 10 with the Arcane Breath there. But good response here with the Blood Boil Brute. And Thijs also picked up Corsair Cash, which means he has access to a weapon on demand, which is going to be nice just to refill some of his hand as well.
6 mana available. Discounted hand because of Generous Mummy, and still not really a play?
I mean, it depends.
Not great, is it?
Depends how bad you want to get. He could just explosive shot this, right?
Sure.
And the question becomes, is that an acceptable play for Zephyrus this game? Can he do something else with maybe Doomsayer?
The problem is, even if if he can get a Doomsayer to go off by manipulating something from Zephyrus, he doesn't roll into Power of Creation because the Generous Mummy will be dead, so the power goes back to 8.
What if he just pings Sol?
I mean, that's an option.
Yeah. So he's going to get off an explosive shot almost certainly. I just don't know what the others are. Oh. Okay, that
swipe his explosive shot for 1 less mana. He was never going to get it.
I didn't know whether the mana would just override it. So what about Doomsayer that turn?
I mean, we just talked about it, right? It doesn't do anything for him. You play a Doomsayer, your opponent passes, and unless you rip exactly what off the top?
That's what I like to call confident subtle.
But I mean, what is the card, right? Like, what do you draw there that pays off the Doomsayer?
Let me check. Oh, I didn't have Thijs' list in front of me, and I had Jarla's. Yeah, not a lot, is there?
You want Jarla's? What? Hello?
Yeah, sorry.
Are you having a moment, right? Are you
yes,
okay?
I had Thijs' lists in front of me, not Jarla's, is what I probably should have said or meant to say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. The Corsair Cash going to get the good work done there, getting that Ankar, and also just helping a little bit of card draw for Thijs. And this is I feel like the weird bit of the game, and kind of what I was alluding to earlier, and how you play this deck against Mage is, well, they've gained the board technically, that they've evened and kind of flattened out the game. So especially with this hand, which is very just combo related, like anything Thijs does low. So then is he just almost fully reliant on Battle Rage, kind of drawing just the tools for him to actually finish this game now? And Jarla's kind of pressuring himself in terms of damage. Thijs is only on 15 here.
Actually, thinking about it, I forgot he's played Frizz Kindle Roost this game, right? So actually, he could draw a big dragon for 7 this turn, or like either of the Alexstraszas. So that there were outs for the Doomsayer play that you were talking about, I guess.
I told you I was right.
So throw that out there in the interest of balance. Look,
Yeah.
look, Raven. If you're going to be like that, I'm not going to give you credit for situations where you don't deserve it. Can't have both.
So, realistically talking, though, this looks like a much nicer Doomsayer turn, as you quite rightly said, leading straight into Power of Creation. Almost guaranteed is pretty sick. And Power of Creation currently still offering fantastic taunt minions, some minions that are very resistant to AoE as well. There's I think there's a good chunk of like Death Rattle / Reborns that you can get. So this might...
Yeah, with the addition of the new, what is it, 5/6 Death Rattle Dragon thing?
Yeah, Netherwing, Rider Man.
Sure.
Yeah, this might be the part where Jarla just puts his foot down on this game. Because, as I said, Thijs is only on 15 health. It's not exactly a lot.
Yeah, and he doesn't really have the opportunity to make any kind of, like, Terran play here either. Like, he would have liked to have some minions just to, like, eat with Terran, right? And then Doomsayer just goes off and he just gets a full board again. But, like, doing that with risky skippers doesn't seem that exciting.
So this is where the age-old question, does he ever battle rage, right? He can't, right? He just can't. Oh, he's gonna sticky finger and then Terran. Okay,
Just make
okay.
a 5/5.
Yep,
Yeah, sure.
I'm okay with this. It's as good as he's got, and it's something. Well, that'll do it. Ken seems pretty good to me.
Karen would like to speak to the manager.
I mean, okay, there's a slight discussion over Boulder Fist because 2 more health on the surface and 2 more attack is pretty important when it nearly sets up like 2 turn or whatever in terms of just Thijs just being on 15. But I don't think you can really ignore the sheer sticking power of Cairn right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a big deal because there's a 5/5 on the board, right? And you're generating 4/5s into it, which just on the surface doesn't feel great. But you are a mage with no cards in hand, which means you might be incentivized to ping over the coming turns.
And also, as well,
that is just fine.
Any sort of at any turn you're expecting Thijs to do something big is probably a risky skipper turn, which means the 5/5 dies anyway. If it trades into a Cairn, and there's still a whole nother Cairn on the sat next to him. So
there is also the consideration of battle rage, though, right? Where Cairn allows this target on board if there isn't a risky
to activate.
skipper.
Oh, okay.
If there isn't a risky skipper turn, you can just bump a battle rage, which might be possible for Thijs. But you've seen Ankars get swung, right? So you know that there is risky skipper in hand.
Oh, was Blood Bowl just the sickest pickup there, considering Thijs already had Rampage in hand as well?
It's pretty good.
I'll show you who's boss.
Oh, good Battle Rage. Going for 4, and it's kind of hard for Thijs to whiff with a 4-draw Battle Rage with these many cards left in his deck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you can Blood Boil and Blood Sworn.
Yep. If Armor Smith comes down, the skippers are dying here. So he's actually reducing the number of damage minions in play by playing this Armor Smith.
Huh.
So I hope he knows what he's doing.
So he's forgoing the Blood Sworn
Yep, he has to.
Mercenary.
Just skipping the Mercenary, using the 5/2 to try go face instead.
Oh, Solid, you are going extremely robot for me, just so you know. I don't know if you need to quickly reconnect.
Okay, I'll try.
So it's going to be the Kartuk Defender here. For Jarla is the draw, but at this point with double Rampage, there is a Bloodsworn Mercenary, and currently no way for Jarla to kill off any of these minions. Does mean that Thijs is going to be able to get a lot of value, and honestly, it's coming down to the point where Jarla is probably just going to need a box. I don't want to be the guy to say it, but he's probably going to need a box to deal with this game.
He's going to need certainly something huge off the top. Be it Dragon Queen Alexstrasza into the nuts, or yeah, Puzzle Box as you mentioned. Amazing Reno, get there as well. But this has just really been the game for Jarla. He ran out of cards very, very early. And then just kind of had to play off the top of his deck every turn. I think he's done a decent job of doing that and maximizing his position.
And so the other side of this question, I guess, is, especially because of this Nova, how much should or does Thijs commit, knowing that there's a chance that he just gets boxed, or maybe Caligos is also very similar outcome to box sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, can Thijs go all in? Does he just step back and say, actually, I have enough in hand to rebuild a board from scratch, so do I wait? Or does he go halfway between?
I think against one card in hand, you can just push. Like, that one card could be exactly Amazing Reno, right? Because it wouldn't have been playable up until now. But anything else, I think Jarla would have had a more powerful turn up until this point.
Yep, I agree.
So it's only really one card you're playing against, so I think you could afford to push a little bit.
It's just like any 10 mana card, right? Is there an issue there? Evocation. So in 10 minutes we'll carry on.
Yeah. Once they've had their fun with the arcane missiles.
Oh. Okay. And I can confess I cannot see some of these cards that well. Okay.
Nothing super exciting.
What about Frostbolt?
I think Magic Trick and Frostbolt are the playable cards here.
There is Font. It gets him a card in his hand. A discovered Mage Minion.
I mean, so does Magic Trick, right?
Yeah, but Magic Trick gets you a 3 mana, right? Or less. Whereas Font can give you another Solarian. Like, just a big Mage Minion.
You're a greedy boy, Raven.
The way I play it, it does anyway.
I like this. Okay. I think this combination was correct.
Either way, I like the Frostbolt.
Yeah.
Now, wow. Is this just done and dusted now? Because I don't really know how Thijs is going to dig himself out of this one. Not with the fact that the Kartuk defender is still just completely healthy. Not even the first wave of his down yet.
Well, most importantly, he's used 2 Risky Skippers and 2 Blood Boil Brutes, which is basically 100% of the removal in his deck.
And he's not drawn the second Corcoran yet.
Warmal Challenger will...
This doesn't do anything, right?
No.
Just...
Well, I mean, it dies. It does kill it. It just dies in the process.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
Sick. Activated Dragoncaster. Dragoncaster Ice Barrier. Let's go, baby. The value.
I mean, it lets him pink. 1 more damage closer to lethal.
Is he playing Alex this turn? Because if he's playing Alex, he should probably Alex himself and then heal off the card.
Oh, yeah. Wait, yeah.
Interesting. I think I like the other way more, personally.
Yeah, me too.
He just doesn't want to try. I mean, the Kartuk's always good. Whatever, yeah. I mean, you can Alex yourself and not trade the Kartuk. It's the same thing. The Kartuk's going to die.
Yeah. There's no way to skip, right? There's no Zephyrus, there's no Silence in the list. The Kartuk dies, all the Jarla wins anyway. Now Thijs going to punish Jarla for that health gain. He's like, now I've got armor as well. You fool.
Suddenly we're just back in top deck wars, and I think Jarla's deck is better at doing that than Thijs is by some distance. But
well, bear in mind, for a start, there's still Alex Straza. Obviously, Jarla's got half his deck left. There's a lot of cards left in his deck, but generally he has more minion production on a card by card basis, right?
Yeah.
The one card.
Yeah.
Oh, do it, Jarla. Make Sol's day.
Imagine he just jams it. Just goes all face and jams it.
I mean, I'm on board with the go all face plan myself.
Is there a reason to kill the Armor Smith? Does it still, with 2 Risky Skippers gone, does it still require that much respect? I think it still does, right?
I think on the base that it would gain 1 less armor this turn if you didn't. but then maybe it lives till next turn, it gains more. You know, like, I guess that trade is fine, but I definitely wanted everything else to go face.
The real kicker there is you can kill the Armor Smith and still have lethal set up on board.
Yes.
So in that case, why not? Like, even with the armor up on the next turn from Thijs, you still have him covered with just the power that you have in play. So I think in that case, like, just why not kill the Armor Smith, because you're representing lethal anyway.
In worst case, there's always Reno. So, absolutely fine after that, isn't it? As Sol continues to love that card. Okay, well, Jarla is taking the win there with the Mage, which means that Thijs has Druid and Hunter left. And this is, I don't know, I think this is where my bad feeling about Thijs' lineup into this weekend hits me, is the Warrior, love the Warrior, great. The Druid, the Hunter, not the list for me, whereas Jarla still has his own Warrior, still has his Mage, and even the Warlock is going to, I feel, get the job done fairly well against some of these kind of aggressive decks. So we'll see how it pans out. But I believe we are going to be going to a very quick break. Maybe not as quick as last time, maybe a little bit longer, but we are going to be setting up game number 2. We'll be right back with some more Hearthstone Grandmasters.
If I could take one physical item with me to a desert island.
I'm thinking of the cheat now. If there's one physical item that can just do everything.
I don't know if this even works, but if I could bring a fishing pool and there's fish in the water there, that would be very convenient.
I think a knife sounds pretty useful.
I mean, mobile is the easy answer, but you don't get anywhere with the mobile, so...
My cell phones.
What if there's no service?
My swimming pants. I hope there is at least a nice sea, and then I can just go in the sea.
A big bottle of water. If I'm lost on an island, I think I would need to have a baguette.
Yeah, eggs to try and build a house or some trees and then just help me survive and maybe make a fire at some point.
Something to start fire with, so a lighter.
The item I would take to a deserted island would probably be a survival guide on how to survive on a deserted island.
Probably be a blow up boat so I could get off the desert islands.
You're gonna have to make the paddles and stuff, or the sail yourself, though.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
We are back to continue our series and Hearthstone Grandmasters Europe. I'm Raven, joining me is Sottle. Of course, we're going to continue out the day and see who's going to book their, the second week winner and book a lot of points going into the knockout stage a little bit later on. But Thijs versus Jarla. Jarla currently leading 1-0 with his mage, which means Thijs has got his work cut out for him with his token druid and his Highlander hunter to take down Jarla's lineup. I don't know about you, Sol, we were talking before the break, but I'm feeling like Jarla's in a great spot right now in this series.
Yeah, personally, I've been a little bit more impressed with the Highlander Hunter than it seems you have. I think it should be okay in a fair few of these matchups. Obviously, there's only 2 of them left available, but I think it has some game against this mage, for example. Not actually sure. Let me just double check. There is no ooze in Jarla's list, which I think for any control deck versus Highlander Hunter, Ooze or Harrison is like tech card number 1 a lot of the time, because you just cannot stand up to the Scam Hammer if you do not have a way to remove it. So Jarla will be purely relying on Zephyrus to be able to remove the Storm Hammer, which we do see in Thijs' Mulligan alongside that Fairy Dragon as well. This is pretty much just the dream opener against Mage, right?
Yeah, I think the only thing he's upset about to a certain extent is no coin. Because coin would be insane. Imprison Felmore, a card that's dipped in and out of hunter lists, but really is just 2 mana swing for 5 a lot of the time, which is a pretty big deal. That's what it does when it wakes up from being dormant. And again, against mage, that swing is often to the face. It doesn't have to target a minion. It's random. But yeah, it's looking not too bad for Thijs. And don't get me wrong, the deck can win, especially with the opening like this. I just feel that not necessarily against the mage, but potentially against the warrior or the warlock, it's going to have a bit of a rougher time, and then suddenly Thijs might end up on one deck, and then there's a bit more of a problem.
So now, decision point already. Does he want immediate aggression, or does he want to invest 1 turn earlier into the bigger minion? I personally love to see the Fairy Dragon here. It's similar on both sides, right? Because either way, you're playing a minion that their early removal spells can't interact with, right? Like, it's not like you can Ray of Frost or Arcane Breath, either of them. But I think, just smacking for 3 nice and early is about as good as you can get here for the Hunter in the matchup.
Agreed, and one of a more slight note on it is that the Fairy Dragon cannot be interacted with for a short amount of time. The Fellhound cannot be interacted with for 2 turns, just full stop. So later into the game, maybe you're going into the turn 6 for Blizzard, maybe some AoE removal later, you can drop the Felmore in there, and you can like overcommit into the board because you're actually not, right? Whilst you're setting up for that 5 damage anyway. So it's just another reason why I think the Felmore was good to keep in hand for them.
Oh, the Zephyrus.
He said he wasn't running an ooze.
I literally mentioned this card, Raven. Come on, you can't call me out on that.
It was a joke. Imagine it didn't give it.
Acidic Swamp Ooze. Insane top deck for Jarla. Probably just flip this matchup on its head single-handedly. That's so much damage reduced. And not only that, just the extra 3-2 this turn is actually competing for tempo as well. Although Thijs does have the perfect answer here with the Zigsaw to be able to gobble up these 3-2s.
I was going to say not only the weapon removal, but Jarla was winning on board, but also has 4 drops. He has things to do, especially now. He has 2 4-drops, so he could chain those for 4 and 5. He has stuff on 6. The Dragon Caster is active as well because Caligos is in hand, which means
he has Mana Saber this turn, right? So depending on his draw next turn, he might just be able to Dragon Caster this game now.
And that's what I mean. He, outside of, Arcane Intellect, not mind-blowing, but there are a lot of draws that could just really push Thijs away here. And Thijs, you can see, has a good next turn or so in terms of pressure, but that's it. He's a long way away from Alexstrasza, and Hunter's not exactly known for its card draw once again.
Yeah. So many good draw. Blizzard, Deep Freeze, Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron. Wow. Raven?
This is known as a subtle special.
Sound the alarm. Break glass in case of emergency.
Let's go.
This is the emergency, Raven.
And everyone, watch Thijs' face. Oh, no. He's seen this a million times. Never mind. Doesn't care. Eye of the Storm. Okay.
Ooh.
This could be an order question mark. Puzzlebox, as we mentioned, often clears the board in a there we go in a very harsh way.
Fine. Oh, the Doomsayer! Oh, what is happening?
What is this game of Hearthstone, Sol?
Huh?
Who won that?
I mean, Jarla was dead, and now he's not dead. So I still think he's done okay from that, but yeah.
He's also lost all of his best cards.
Yes.
Oh my. What a game of Hearthstone we have here. So, yeah.
He has
not
no
too
real
surprised to see a pass.
play here either because of the overload. Okay, Bone Wraith is about as good as it was going to get.
Does he not just play Frizz now?
I guess, the Dormant guy's waking up this turn as well. Yeah, the 5-4 is much better than the 2-5. You are absolutely right.
And also, just get it in now while you can, just because you never know. It might reduce... Well, I don't even know how many dragons he's got left. I guess Alex Strauss is the big one. Okay, that'll do. That's it. Although it might look like, oh, it hit the best one. It's kind of the best one for Jarla as well, because it died. And now, Thijs is still in the game, especially this Desert Spear means that he can take out this card up pretty easily and then have maybe the Dragonbane do enough work, but Jarla is on 21 right now. And Thijs did not press Hero Power that turn, and every turn that goes by where Thijs can't press Hero Power scares me.
Well, in a weird way, has Thijs become the control deck here? Because the number of threats that he has to beat in total has just reduced so dramatically, right?
Yeah, but there's all the spell threats is the problem. Can Thijs beat a Deep Freeze? Can he beat a Power of Creation? Do you know what I mean? Like, the minions are gone, but that just makes the spells come quicker, doesn't it? And I don't think he can beat the spell threats, which is why I think Thijs just has to keep pressing Hero Power and hope for the best, but with Siamat down and no way to answer.
Yeah. He's just so far away and just kind of dying on board right now.
Yeah. The ooze was the big deal here as well, because maybe with a couple of swings of the weapon, he would not look as far away, and in some worlds you get there, but he's on 24. There's Reno next turn if Jarla needs it. There's Kalagos next turn if he doesn't need the Reno armor and the sort of go-away ability of Reno. So, yeah, the options are there. And I actually think on reflection he never plays Reno this turn, right? Because he's going into exactly turn 9 and Thijs has held one card in his hand all game.
That absolutely is not happening.
And Blizzard is more than good enough too.
Thijs' secret is Snake Trap here, by the way.
I wonder... I guess
Jarla, I think,
Blizzard.
was definitely checking his deck for spells as the turn was about to pass back to him. The fact that he drew Blizzard, of course, changes that a little bit. Yeah. But I think he was very much considering a Tortolan play here versus Kalagos and what both of those things meant for him.
Yep, and there's a 1 Deep Freeze, 1 Power of Creation, 1 Frost Nova, 1 Blizzard until he drew it, of course. So 1 Rolling Fireball, which is dicey with your own board, of course. But basically, Jarla had some really good Tortolan plays regardless of what he drew. But now with the Blizzard, he could just Blizzard and play Bone Wraith, which I think is more than good enough as well.
I mean, why we'd play a 4-12 instead of a 2-5, right? This just seems better.
Well, okay, sure. I was more thinking if you're ever considering Reno in next turn, you could save the Kalagos.
No, I'm considering killing him next turn.
But yeah, no, don't get me wrong, I'm okay with it. Look, I'm not used to the hunter being the defender, so
I'm telling you, the mage is the aggro here. You're just gonna have to believe.
I won't believe it. Oh, that's a whole lot of nothing.
2 wisps from the Nethrandamus and Mali. Unlucky. No target dummies for you, my friend.
Imagine, oh my god. That would change the outcome of that card, or the power of the outcome of that card dramatically.
Yeah, it really would, right?
Just gonna double check, it's not been put in. No cards he's not aware of.
Wait,
Anyone? He traded.
Oh, of course,
right?
yeah, I mean he does.
Yeah, he traded.
Sure.
Sure. Not gonna be good enough, and Jarla goes 2-0 with the mage, which means he might be on a sweep with Highlander Mage. Sottle, how do you feel?
What? I mean, you can't just keep poking the bear. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm not a fan of the deck. It's certainly exciting to watch. It just makes my job difficult, because my job is to break down the decisions that happened in the game. And I think, you know, it was Zephyrus into Ooze that game, and then it was a puzzle box. There's not really a lot for me to break down, you know? So okay, being a little bit more serious, what do you think Druid has the window available? Because it's a very weird way I feel Druid interacts with Mage, is they both do their big things at kind of the same time. You know, as Mage ramps up into, you know, towards 10 mana, 6 mana onwards, I would say, Mage has strong removal, some good board presence, and so on. But Druid makes crazy boards at that point as well. So in that, I know it's never a direct clash because of the way Mage works, but who do you think generally gets the better end of the stick once we start getting into 6 and 7 mana? In my experience, I've certainly seen this go Mage's way more often. The stats from just general ladder play seem to reflect it at around 50-50 as well. And I can look at what we had in the Swiss yesterday for Europe, Mage versus Druid. Wow, tiniest sample size. 1 game, 1 win for the Mage. That
must be Mage favour,
not very helpful. But across all regions, 4 out of 8. So again, pretty 50-50. So I think answer is it's a fairly even match. But just from my personal experience, I've been slightly more successful on the Mage side of it and seen it go the Mage's way a few more times, especially since the slight nerf, I guess, to the Druids, which makes them just that 1 turn slower. That 1 turn can be a pretty big deal in terms of like when the Mage AoE actually becomes active in terms of their mana curve versus Druids, right?
Right, and I think talking of mana curve and, you know, sort of power spikes within each player's game plan based on that, it is extremely important. And it is in every matchup, of course, but I feel like overgrowth is huge for the Druid because they can get a little bit faster than the Mage removal can keep up with. Just because they usually on a normal game clash at the same time. I feel like if Druid gets that 1 or 2 turns quicker, the game will just end before the Mage can do a lot about it. So we don't see an overgrowth in Thijs' opening hand, which means he's got a limited time to draw it to really have that high impact effect of it early on.
Yeah, and that's why you see Thijs, I think, ripping that Rising Winds for card draw. That's why you see most players ripping Rising Winds for card draw as opposed to Eagles in this Druid deck, because hitting those power cards nice and early, like the Overgrowth that you mentioned, so very, very important.
How do you like a coin frizz here? Are you valuing the coin a lot, or do you want to just get a big minion on the board?
I do value this coin a lot in this matchup, yes. I think I was just about to counter and say you can get your uncontested frizz on the board, which is your game plan, right? But you can just kind of do it like this. It looks weird.
But I want it now!
It looks weird because this is your opponent's overgrowth turn, right?
Yes,
so like you play Doomsayer and then they just overgrowth and laugh at you, and it looks really quite strange. But I think just the way his hand is playing out, this curve makes sense.
Yeah. And you can see that there's actually even a backup with Frizz now, and then there's Coin Reno. If Thijs just snaps a Glowfly straight away, then the coin into Reno, especially with the Frizz already on board, can pretty much nullify the play, and it's going to happen as well. So,
and that's
it's looking pretty solid.
What that Doomsayer on the previous turn did do, because it stopped Thijs innovating Glowfly Swarm on the previous turn, which Jarla did not have an answer to. Whereas playing the Doomsayer, the kind of stupid-looking Doomsayer, actually turns out to be genius, because if the Glowfly was in hand, it delays it this 1 extra turn until now, and now Jarla is just ahead of the game completely.
Yeah, and you see the knock-on effect, right? Because I think a lot of people would have wanted to just get... You're like, oh, my opponent beats me up with minions. Well, if I get the board quickly, can I just stop them doing that? Well, Jarla did that, but in a slightly different fashion that isn't maybe the most straightforward thing in the world. But as you said, it's turned out extremely well for him. And even with the Blizzard follow-up now, I mean, Blizzard, Conjurer's Calling, even Arcane Breath, Jarla has answers to almost anything Thijs can do this turn as well.
And Thijs' hand does not currently do a great deal. Even when he gets to that 7 mana, he's not unlocking that much. He does have Kael'thas, Innovate, Ironbark for 0, and then he can get a free Overflow or Forest Aid out of that. But without, you know, Overflow being the option of those two, and then Overflow hitting the absolute nuts for a second Kael'thas, it's still not that impressive a turn, right?
Yeah, I was even looking at whether it's one of those weird plays where you innovate Overflow first.
Or
but
illegal.
It wouldn't have worked.
Actually illegal, Raven. That draw. Poor.
Yeah. That's
Alert the authorities.
I love that card, the dirigible.
6/6s. That is an insane outcome, and Thijs now finds himself so incredibly far behind that he probably now just has to go this overflow route. The crystal power draw is actually huge because that gave him something to do with his innovate that turn. So now he only needs 1 0 mana spell and 1 huge spell off
And
this
there's a
overflow.
Moonfire. Okay. Yeah. Even with this turn, because we can see Jarla's hand, it's still very problematic, isn't it? Even the Arcane Breath to combo with the Blizzard to make this KT go down that little bit easier too.
Yep.
Oh, it's just lining up so well for Jarla. This game is insane. It's literally how you want a game of Hearthstone to go if you're on Jarla's side of the board.
Yeah, hitting a 6/6 from the Conjurer's Calling has just made these breakpoints so nice, right? Like Blizzard deals 2, Arcane deals 2, and then you have a 6/6.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
And you just deal 16. Oh, counterspell, nice. Not necessarily for right now, but if you can clear the board now, and even if Thijs does something crazy next turn and makes a board, the counterspell has a not guaranteed chance, because there are cards along the lines of Moonfire, the fungal spores, but and Power of the Wild, but it means that you're not. It's less likely you get sort of cheesed out by a Savage Raw buff dead out of nowhere. And in the meantime, Jarla's just going to kill him anyway. You know, this is literally just setting him lethal regardless. So Thijs has his work cut out for him.
And even if Thijs, by some minor miracle, is able to answer this board state, Jarla is able to just keep going with Power of Creation. So
yep.
There's only one real solution here, and that's that Thijs needs all the Diving Griffins.
I was going to say. This has very quickly become a common theme here, where Diving Griffin is just clearly the best card in Hearthstone.
And I, unlike Derek Brown, never doubt the power of the Diving Griffin.
It's just not enough, is it? The minions, they're too much. And I know, especially last week, there was some raised eyebrows at an inclusion of Khadgar just in a base list for Highlander Mage. It wasn't really a common pick, you know, previously in most Highlander lists.
Conj on the 3/3 taunt is lethal if it doesn't hit a new taunt. But you've always got to consider when you make that play, like, am I so far ahead that I can just make a different play that, you know, doesn't improve my opponent's board if I whiff?
Jarla has been known to take his time. But I do think... Okay, if it was me, I'd rip the Conjuring. I would have done it 5 minutes ago, but...
well, you also have the option to go Power of Creation, right? Which is also sometimes lethal.
Yeah, there's Rush, there's Charge.
It's not... I don't think it's lethal as often as Conjurer's Calling the 3/3. But when it's not lethal, it's not as much of a disaster for your turn. I think this is actually a tough turn. I'm sure Jarla sees it. It's just actually debatable whether it's the right play or not.
Time runs out on me.
Okay, he's going for it.
And here we go.
And
I
boom.
don't see any taunts.
3-0 to Jarla. Quick as you like, which is a description I never thought I would be able to make for a Jarla series. But there you have it. Nice and easy, 3-0 with the Highlander Mage. Jarla already improving on his result from last week, I believe.
Yeah, and his result from last week wasn't so bad either because we also cast him last week as well. So he's looking pretty good. Highlander Mage getting a sweep, and anytime, especially in Last Hero Standing, you can sweep a lineup. Got to be feeling great about something because I feel like often is the case you end up 2-3 or something along those lines. So yeah, congratulations to Jarla taking the win there, knocking Thijs down to that the lower bracket, and Jarla is going to go on into the upper bracket and have a pretty solid chance there versus Bunny Hopper, whereas we are going to be checking out Felkane versus Thijs shortly as well to decide whose week is going to be over in terms of Grandmasters, but definitely not their future because all of these players are starting to stack up a good chunk of points, especially 3 out of the 4 here, not including Bunny Hopper.
Yeah, I mean, it bears repeating that 3 out of these 4 players were also in our top 8 for the week last week, so their points total is looking very robust indeed, and if Bunny Hopper goes on and wins the group, for example, or if Bunny Hopper qualifies again next week as well, then would not be surprised to see all 4 of those names hanging out in the coveted Division A when it comes to our round robin play.
Yeah, and just interested there, again, I talked earlier about, Thijs' lineup didn't feel great, but I'll be honest, I did not think he was going to be swept by Mage. I don't think that was the deck that I put all the strength of Jarla on,
No, if there's one thing that Thijs' lineup did not seem super vulnerable to, it was the 3-0 sweep from Mage, but yeah, there you have it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is Hearthstone, right? Anything can happen. But again, I do like the we've seen a lot of Demon Hunter bans, like 2 out of 2 matches so far. So I am liking the Demon Hunter bans because again, I feel like Demon Hunter would have, maybe just torn Jarla to pieces, which is obviously why he banned it. But again, just shows the strength of the class and asks questions of people who aren't banning Demon Hunter. And just a final note as well on Jarla that, for some weird reason, didn't cross my mind. Jarla's not even bringing Demon Hunter. What happened? I've only just realised. It's crazy.
He's just not a believer. I mean, Jarla will take any excuse he can to just play more control decks. Let's be honest. So, maybe Demon Hunter's finally hit the point for him where he just feels like it's not the bring. Maybe he just didn't find a Last Hero Standing lineup, with the cadence of matchup into matchup where he felt happy with, where it came as his snipe deck or his sweep deck or whatever. Because we could already see his sweep deck's Highlander Mage. Like, what does he need Demon Hunter for? That's just another sweep deck. He doesn't
just bring one deck. It doesn't even need 4. It's fine.
Yeah, he should just bring 4 Highlander Mages.
But no, definitely interesting to see a lack of Demon Hunter in a lineup that has been performing very, very well. But we are going to go to a short break now while we sell the next match for you guys, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Grandmasters.